Welcome, children of God, loved and saved by Jesus. You have found the Christ for Disciplers podcast, a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday podcast where we spend about 10 minutes or less a day focusing on how Jesus impacts our life so we can impact the life of the children God has put into our lives and our ministries and our families. This week we're looking at the Transfiguration. Let me ask you, do the kids that you spend time with, do they love church? You know, that they're really comfortable in that building. Sometimes church kids, as they're sometimes called, they feel so comfortable in the building, they feel free to run around. They're not scared by the building. They're comfortable there. You know, of course, they need to respect it and honor it, but it's like they love this place. You know, it's a happy spot. They look forward to it. And maybe more important than the space itself or, you know, loving what they do they have some real relationships with another generation? You know, especially if they're children, do they have relationships with the two generations older than them? You know, they might know the pastor, maybe they know their teacher or a youth leader, maybe they know some peers there, but do they have a relationship with the people that are older in their congregation? Those things are both really key. In the part of the text from the Transfiguration we're looking at today, we see Peter excited about being in the church, you know, in a unique sort of way, and he's excited about spending time with some older individuals, different generations of Christians, Moses and Elijah. So let me read for you from Mark chapter 9. We're starting at verse 5. Peter said to Jesus, "Rabbi, it's good for us to be here. Let us put up 3 shelters, one for you, one for Moses, one for Elijah." He did not know what to say. They were so frightened. So Jesus appears in glory. He's shining bright. He's looking fantastic. They see Elijah and Moses. It looks like they're in glory. And I wonder, you know, what were Peter, James, and John thinking? Were they thinking, this is when we start heaven? You know, our lives are over. This is good. This is great. You know, we like it here. Whatever it was, they loved the experience of being in glory. They loved the experience of being with Moses and Elijah. And Peter wanted to stay, but he really didn't know what it was talking about. It was overwhelming. It's kind of scary. He didn't fully understand about Jesus' mission and what Jesus needed to do and what he needed to do. But he said it. He was bold and brave and said, "I really like it here." And that's what I want children to say about church and spending time with old Christians. I love it here. This is just a great place. I'm going to be back here more often. Is it over already? And I don't know if that happens a lot. Church isn't stereotypically thought of as a great spot where people love to go there. You know, that's Discovery World. That's the amusement park. That's the candy store. That's even the library. Sounds more exciting than church when it comes to kids. But that's what we want. Not because necessarily there's games. We're not competing with the arcade, but there's something there that they really like. And usually that's authentic relationships, people who really love them. You know, Jesus tells us to love one another, and that's how people will know that we're really his disciples. That's our evangelism plan. We just got a lot of love going on, and then we can share about the love of God that gave us this love, and that's what they're missing in the world. For churches, that's what they want to cultivate. So kids want to stay there. Now, the reality is they can't stay there. We'll talk about that with the next verse. But that they crave it, that they want to come there regularly. They're trained to love it. Like, I love going to church. It isn't a big pain. I like going there, even though, you know, it's my job and sometimes it's work. But I go there because I get to see people, get to share. It's a good time, but it's not like thrilling or entertainment. So I think of ways that churches do this, you know, and in church, they want to make sure when it comes to worship, children are engaged. So maybe they have a part of the service where there's a children's message. That's what we do, where I make sure to tie it to the message. But I have an object lesson, and I particularly aim at the kids and invite them to come up. Other churches will do sometimes where they maybe during the sermon, they have a thing called children's church or part of the church where they go and they really get people to focus on them. So it doesn't feel like a disengaged 20 minutes. There's different ways of doing it. You make sure to have food and times together where kids are always looking forward to that. Only time in the week they get donuts sometimes or whatever. When we go there, this is what's awesome. I used to always have, every Sunday morning, I'd go with my son Joshua, and we'd pick up donuts. I didn't have time to make breakfast on Sundays, but Sundays, that was donut day. That was the day that you got that special treat you didn't get any other time. For building, relationships with other generations, you have to kind of intentionally do that, where you make sure that they get to meet. I got to read Faith for Exiles, and it's a book that talks about the key of that for resilient disciples. And so we have an after-school program where kids come in. Normally it's just them with me, but once a month we invite members to come and sit next to them, and they do a lot of discussion and sharing and talking and know their names, so that when they come to church, they know me, but they also know the older generation who has spaces next to them. They don't have kids next to them. They love to have middle schoolers sit next to them. That's sort of that relationship that you want. You want kids to say, it's really good to be here. I can't wait to see Grandma Carolyn. I can't wait to see Grandpa Phil, or whatever it is, that they have these relationships with cool names. I used to have a member of my congregation, just a short little guy, and he loved the kids, and he was just great. You'd always welcome them and thank them for coming, and he gave kids a quarter when they came in. I didn't realize this until one time it was a college student came, and he gave her a quarter, and her mom said, you don't have to keep giving her a quarter. But it was a little special thing. He came with a pocket full of quarters, and he officially welcomed kids to come to church, and they could put the quarter in the offering if they wanted to. They could keep it. But it was his way of engaging kids. For us, Jesus he's the ultimate lovable individual who brings love to all, and by his love brings together multiple generations, brings together the church and makes us a lovable group of people so we can love one another. And for us, we need to love church. And if you're in a church where it's a struggle and it's tough, I don't tell you to leave. Sometimes you have to, but the more important thing is, why don't you love people up? Instead of leaving them, you can turn the culture around by loving people up and loving people that are hard to love and change it around. Jesus, he didn't leave the world. Instead, he loved it up. And that's what we're called to do, to love up our church and love up our kids so they love it here. Thanks for taking 600 seconds so Christ doesn't take second in your life. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine on you and be gracious to you. The Lord look on you with favor and give you peace. Amen.